Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton, host of Behind the Confident Smile, where we inspire women to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. And I am here with Diana Munoz. She is lovely, y'all, and we are talking about her journey of re-entering society and rebuilding her life after incarceration.
Thank you, Bianca, for having me, and thank you for that introduction. I look forward to this conversation with you today.
Oh, me too. This is just going to be a continuous flow because we've already been flowing before the record button hit.
Yes.
So take us back 12 years ago when you were released from prison. How did you feel? What was the first thing that you did as a free individual again?
So I felt afraid. It was very, very scary because I had been away for several years and just really accustomed to a very structured and isolated, life. So, there's a lot of fear that came with stepping foot off of the grounds. And I remember being dropped off at the train station because I was out of state and waiting for my train. And the first thing that I did was actually buy a pack of cigarettes. And I don't smoke anymore, though. As a disclaimer, I quit years ago. But it was a great feeling to be able to buy a pack of cigarettes and have a cigarette and not have to, look over my shoulder or whatnot because smoking wasn't allowed on the grounds. So that was actually the first thing that I did, stepping off of, prison grounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had fear of not being a part of this structured
environment.
And you buy a pack of cigarettes. As soon as you step off the bus, you're like, I'm scared, but I feel relieved.
What's next?
And so what's next? Take us through.
So I wasn't, so the interesting thing is I was free, but I wasn't free. So I was free from being a part of that specific structure, but I didn't go straight home. So I had the ride back to Chicago. And I actually had to stay at a halfway house. So I was still very much incarcerated. Like it still felt like, so I had this moment where I was free. I was taking this ride home. I was free with my own thoughts, scared for what was to come. And then at this facility, right, this midway point where it was still the same structure, right? So they're, those that oversee it, they manage our time from, the time you wake up to the time that you go to bed. Your movement is documented. We need permission to leave the grounds. And the only reason that we're allowed is to look for work. So I still wasn't free, and then they'd allow us visits with our family. Our family can come and see us for a little bit or drop off items, but it still felt very much like being incarcerated, but being able to leave supervised into the world,
right?
Here and there until they said it was okay to actually go home and start living your life when they felt you were ready for that. So it was a really odd time to kind of be in that in-between.
Yeah,
in between. Yeah, because you're restricted. Like I was restricted from doing what I really wanted, but then again, I didn't even really know. Like I didn't have a plan. Okay. I just knew that I wanted to make it, to whatever was next for me. Just make it. Yeah. Just survive. Like it's a constant like in survival mode. Yeah.
Question for you. Because you said survival mode, do you feel like you were in survival mode before going to prison? And if so, what put you in that survival mode?
That is a whole nother conversation. Yeah. That's a whole other topic. But yes, I feel like for most of my life, I have been surviving, just feeling like I have to make it and I have to survive, and just very like independent. And how am I going to either just make it to the next day, or just be able to provide for myself and have life, right? Live life. I think that where I'm at now, finally in life, I'm resting more. So I think that constant need, or that urgency to be in survival mode, and to kind of always be in that hustle. It's always it's less. It's less and less nowadays, which is really nice. But yeah, there was a way that I was living my life that I put myself in a position where I felt like I needed to survive, and I would do anything that I needed to do to ensure that I was surviving and I had a roof over my head, and had my necessities and the things that I needed to get by.
Okay. Wow. So now you're in this continual survival mode, in the in-between phase of, I'm not doing time anymore,
Right.
but I'm still
I am.
doing,
Yeah.
but I'm still doing time in the halfway transition. So you can only go out to look for work. So take us through the journey of looking for work with a record. And at that time, 12 years ago, so I guess before having records was more acceptable.
Yeah, so great question. So, well, yeah. So I thought that it would be easy. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, oh, this piece, I have this on lock, because I had a work history. I had a pretty good work history. I had skills already. But then I had the gap in employment, right? And even with that, I try to be really clever with the way that I shaped up my resume and the way that I presented it. I worked while I was incarcerated. I kept a job. So I put that as an employer, and I was really clever in the way that I did it, so it didn't look like I had a gap in my employment, because I knew that employers were going to be looking for that. So I really did feel very confident about going out there and looking for work. I'm like, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to get a job, even if it's like a retail job, working part-time. Just get me something to get me started so I can get out of this in-between and actually go home with my family. And it was very humbling, a very humbling experience, because the rejection was very severe. So I was aggressively applying for jobs. I knew that I was interviewing well. I even had employers telling me, like, I'd really love to hire you, but I just can't, because my background check was coming back. And, the results were coming back. And I didn't have prior, like, convictions, or, this was the first time that I got in trouble, and the last, but it made an impact. It did enough damage, right? So it felt like I was just being rejected over and over and over again. And it is hard to not resort back to old habits and old thinking and old ways of making money, right? So survival mode is just like, now I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, they keep rejecting me. I know I have skills. I know that I could do a great job in anything that I'm doing. I'll clean toilets. Like, I am a very humble person. Like, if you're going to give me a job cleaning toilets, I'm going to clean those toilets so good. You're going
to promote me.
You're going to promote me, right. But yeah, it was very disheartening. It was really depressing. Like, I started to isolate myself, and I understood in that moment why it's so easy for people to actually go back so quickly, because we come in together on this bus, right? And a lot of people just really quickly go right back. And it's because it's really easy to fall into bad habits and try to get your hands on drugs, right? To deal with the rejection or the disappointment or the hurt, or make a connection with an old contact and cop something. And, so I was like, wow, this is why people go back so quickly, because it's so easy to give up. and be so discouraged because you don't have the resources and the support that you need to be successful in just getting a job, any kind of job. So,
Wow. And how long did you experience the rejection?
for several months,
Okay.
and I had to put my pride aside. So I actually had one of the women that I was in the halfway house was like, look, there's a reentry center. Just go, you know, just go. They can help you. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how much they can help me, to be honest. Like, I've done everything that I could possibly do. You know, what are they going to do different that I haven't already tried doing myself? So she really just encouraged me and pushed me to go. And I went ahead and I scheduled that appointment at the reentry center, took my resume, took everything that I was required to take for their orientation, sat through their whole process. I was there for several hours. And it was a moment, you know, like I was just sitting there like, wow, this is where I'm at in life. Like, I'm sitting here in this reentry center because I can't find a job. When that had never been an issue for me in my life.
Right.
You know. So it was very humbling. Very, very humbling.
Do you think that in that moment for you, that was a turning point as far as, okay, now I have to ask for help, and what it sounds like to me is I'm not used to asking anybody for help because, one, I've been in survival mode my whole life, and I'm used to getting what I need or want to survive, and now I'm at the bottom.
You are so right. So my mother always raised all of us to be extremely independent. Like, we had our chores, we had our responsibilities. She had set her expectations. We knew what was expected of us. And she told us, like, I need to know that you guys can take care of yourself. Like, she always made sure that we were independent and we knew how to fend for ourselves. So that's how I lived my life. Very independent, always finding those ways to fend for myself, to support myself, and regardless of what that meant and what that looked like. So to ask for help, yeah, that was very new for me. I still struggle with that. I'm more comfortable with it, but it was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
Because I was just, like you said, I was just always used to doing things myself, always making a way, finding a way, and not really just having to ask anyone for anything.
Right.
All other people knew, even family was like, she always got her stuff together. Had no idea what was going on in the background.
Hi, I'm Darius Hillman. Joining me on the next edition of In the Arena, banking executive and agent of faith, Monica Rubio.
I was strong. I persevered in career and community. I realized I had lost myself.
Join the conversation Tuesday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
In that moment, did you say to yourself, well, mental health is big now. I don't even know if it was a conversation then. But did they offer mental health services at that time?
No, that wasn't even a conversation then either. No. So you just learn how to cope the best that you can. You know, thankfully I had God and faith, so that was how I coped. And that's how I dealt with, you know, the disappointment or the feeling of hopelessness. Was just anytime I felt that way, I opened my Bible, just read my word, you know. But that reentry center changed my life. It changed the course of my life. I was so stubborn
about going. But it was what
and
you
it had
needed.
been there the whole time. I knew girls that were going there for help, but I was like, I got this. And it was there the whole time.
Until you didn't.
And right.
So how did it change your life?
So as I sat there, and it was hours orientation. They sit you through an orientation. You do this assessment, a skills assessment to kind of gauge where your skill set is at. your knowledge base. They just have a process, right? Take paperwork, and I'm just sitting, I'm waiting. I finished all the paperwork, submitted everything, submitted my resume, and one of the career coaches was reviewing my resume, and he pulled me aside, and he was like, I'm really surprised you're here. You have a really good work history.
It's like, that's what I thought.
And I'm like,
too.
that's what I thought, right? So we're kind of laughing about that because I'm like, that's what I thought too. But unfortunately, I'm having a really hard time. I'm not passing the background check, to be frank. Like, I'm having a hard time finding a job. People like me, but they're afraid to hire me. So he was like, are you okay if I share your resume with my boss? And I was like, absolutely, share it with whoever you want. That is why I'm here. I am here to get help. So at that moment, I felt proud of myself because I was accepting the help and I was saying, yes, help me, you know? And yeah, that changed the course of my life that day because they actually ended up calling me in for an interview that week for a front desk receptionist position that they had available and they needed someone for. And they thought that I had the ability to do the job and they wanted to give me that chance. So that was my second chance.
That was your second chance.
That was my second chance.
How did you feel?
I felt amazing. It was amazing. Very humbling again. Like it felt so good to finally have an opportunity present itself to me. And all I had to do was ask for help.
That's a key lesson, right?
It is.
Asking for help. So
Putting your pride aside,
Yeah. And saying, okay, ego, I need you to go over
Yes.
there.
Right. Sit down.
Because after you get a job, then your status at the halfway house changes.
It does. So you're able to leave now for work. They give you passes on the weekends to spend the weekend with your family. So it's monitored, obviously, for a period of time. But when you have fulfilled those requirements and you maintain that employment and you're not getting in trouble and you're not, you're reporting when you're supposed to report in, then they actually allow you to just go back home and start your life. So, yeah, shortly after that, life started for me, a few months after working for them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But I stayed with them for a while.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I took advantage of every opportunity that they had to offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay there before you branched out?
I stayed there for about 2 years.
Okay.
Because I wanted to, it instilled something in me. I'm like, they gave me a hand when I needed it. And I want to be able to do that for someone else because it felt so good. And I didn't want someone else to struggle and feel that hurt and that rejection that I felt over and over and over again. And I was like, if I could just give something small to someone else that is dealing with this too, then that's what I want to do. So I just started to advocate for myself. I was like, well, I want to be a case manager. I know you hire those. I want to be able to find these resources for the people coming in here and get them connected to housing or clothing or food, whatever it is. I want to help them find those resources and secure them. So the director was like, okay. So he let me do that for a little bit. And then I said, well, I used to help people find jobs when, before I went away. I think I'd like to give that a try. Can I do that too? And he said, well, yeah, we actually have a position open for an employment specialist. Go for it. And he let me do that. And I did that. And I loved it. I loved, it was so fulfilling. And it was just, even if someone didn't get the job, like it felt good to understand what they were going through and be able to just be there for them.
You became their support.
Yeah.
Not just support from I want to help, but I've lived through it.
Right.
And you can help them navigate systems and structures because you've had to navigate.
Right. So after about 2 years, another opportunity opened up, nonprofit as well, doing employment, not specific to, individuals with a criminal background, but to anyone. So whether they have a criminal background or not. And it was a really great opportunity. And it was an opportunity for me to grow and develop and learn and kind of just spread my wings with everything that I was learning there. And I took advantage of it, and it stuck. And 10 years later, 10 plus years later, I'm still doing the same work, and I'm so thankful that I'm able to be of service in some way and give back in some way.
Yeah. When you think about what you've learned about yourself from stepping off that bus, buying your pack of cigarettes, to getting your first job, to advocating, like, hey, I want to do this too. And they're like, oh, it's a position open. What did you learn about yourself during that time?
I learned that I was more ambitious than I thought, because I never looked at myself as an ambitious type of person. And I also learned that it was really important to be patient with myself, and to handle myself with grace, because with change, you have to be patient, because I was literally becoming a different person.
Yeah.
Just different. Like the way that I thought, the way that I felt, the way that I carried myself. I had actual goals for life and actual dreams for life. Something that I didn't really, I think, as you know, when we grow up, we're like, yeah, we want to be a ballerina or a singer or a dancer, right? Or an artist. No one grows up and at 5 or 6 or even 10 says, I want to work in the nonprofit sector and help, right? And help people get jobs.
Right. Because first of all, that's real specific.
Right.
And secondly, you don't see that on TV, right?
No.
You're like,
right. And it's a shame, you know, that there's people that are actually out there doing this, to help. They're helping. So, yeah, it gave me purpose. I don't think I ever had actual purpose in life before I got that job.
Do you think that purpose helped you to stay out of trouble? And
it's one of the reasons that helped me stay out of trouble. You know, being incarcerated was the best thing that happened to me. I was pulled out of the environment that I put myself in, completely separated from it, and sat down. And it was the best thing that could have happened. And then starting my work there, my journey there, it gave me purpose. But I could have started to get back in. I had the freedom now. So I'd be lying to say that I wasn't tempted to start partying again or trying drugs again, or even reconnecting with old friends, right? So one thing that I learned was that if you want to change your life, you need to change the people, the places, and the things. So I had to completely, in order to keep myself from falling into those bad habits, I had to remind myself of that daily. Like, you cannot reach out to old people. You cannot go to old stomping grounds. You cannot resort back to those old habits, because you will fall back into that old place that you were at in life.
Is that something you came to know about yourself, or did someone say, in order for you to be successful, these are the things that I would advise you not to do? Like, how did
that
you
was
come
in treatment.
to that? Okay.
So I did have an opportunity that not too many have while I was incarcerated to participate in, it was called RDAP. So it was a residential drug treatment program. And that was probably the biggest thing that I took away from that. Well, no, one of many, but for this conversation, that was one of the biggest things that I left with, was like, if I want to be successful in life and I don't want to end up back here, these are the 3 things that I need to focus on and I need to live by. So I do.
To this day,
To this day. And I'm a mom now, so that changes everything too. I don't want to screw things up. You know, I have someone who's looking up to me now, you know, and that was life-changing as well. So I want to do right by her. But yeah, I can openly, in all transparency, there's probably at least once or twice a week, I'm like, oh, it would be so great, you know, to just relax and get high or whatever, you know, but I know I can't do that. Personally, I can't do that. I have too much to lose. And I value my life now.
When did you start valuing your life? You just keep opening the doors.
I think when I started to feel valued by others, which is terrible. Like, you should never base your value off of the way that other people see you or their.
But maybe that's what you.
But I think I may have needed that,
time.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that when I started to see like all the opportunities that this director gave me, anytime I asked, like, it was no question. Like, I would just ask and he'd be like, yep, yes. I was like, oh my gosh, he must see something in me. Like, he must see the value in me. That he just gives me these chances without question. So then I'm like, I must be like, I must be
You must be a gem,
I must be
right?
something, right? Because
Yeah.
he sees something in me that I don't quite see in myself yet. And, you know, I have just been very fortunate after the last couple of years to have people strategically placed in my life that remind me, like, you're worthy. Like, you're something. Like, you're going to do some things. You may not see it yet, but you've done some things. And for me, I'm like, I'm just living life. I'm just trying to make it, you know, I'm just trying to make it. And I'm trying to be a good role model to my daughter. And I'm trying to lead by example to the people that I serve, you know, through my own experiences. So, yeah.
Books. As we wrap up our conversation for now,
Okay.
what do you want to tell a young woman who may be stepping off the bus today and coming back home, wherever home is? What do you want to say to her?
I want her to know that she's worthy. No matter what she's done to herself, willingly or unwillingly, she is worthy. I want her to know that she is loved, and I want her to tell herself that she is loved. I want to tell her to be patient with herself, to handle herself with grace. And it's okay to dream. Dream again and dream big. It can happen. Life can change. So I think we forget to dream.
Yeah. Dreaming after devastation can be hard and after disappointment.
Right.
But you are a testament to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure reading a couple of pages of your life today.
Thank you. This is a big step for me,
Yes.
sharing this openly like this. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to just share this. And I hope that at least one person can take away something good and encouraging from what I've been able to share.
I'm positive. I am positive that that is true. Well, you all, thank you for being here with us and tuning in for another conversation of Behind a Confident Smile.